When it comes to The Breakfast Club, it seems to me it is viewed in one of two ways. People think it's either massively overrated, that it's criminally underrated, or that it's neither, and just another melting pot of shit flicks and gravy. Stick with me and let's talk about it.
Alrighty then.
Very rarely, especially in this day and age, will you end up watching a movie you know absolutely nothing about. Fortunately for me, this is exactly what happened with The Breakfast Club. I caught it on TV late one night, and had no idea what it was even called at the time. But this movie hooked me right away. For me, this movie is a stone-cold classic. But before we get into the why, let's go over the plot for those of you who haven't seen it. 5 high school students get into a drug-filled orgy involving animal sacrifices and poker. Sorry. That's a totally different movie I'm thinking of. Anyway, 5 high school students have to endure a Saturday detention in the school's humongous library with an absolute gobshite of a principal. They are not allowed to talk. They are not allowed to move. All they have to do is write an essay on who they think they are. The group includes a rebel, a popular, stuck-up, spoilt princess, a basket case, a jock, and a nerd. At first, they don't get on at all. Each one trying to act cool, edgy, batshit crazy, smart, popular or tough. All of them playing up to their given labels. When each of them gets a chance to tell their own story, and explain why they act the way they do, they all start to see each other in a different light. When the day is over, they ask themselves, I wonder what I'm having for dinner later. No, just kidding. They ask themselves, will they ever be the same again? Okay, that's the fluff out of the way. As I mentioned at the start of the video, people seem to view this movie in one of 3 ways. It makes them horny, thirsty, or they get the urge to go and milk a cow. What I meant to say is, they view it as overrated, underrated, or it's a classic. Personally, I think it's an absolute classic. As I said earlier, I caught this movie late one night, whilst surfing the channels for nature programs.
Yeah, right.
The setup couldn't be more simple. Pretty much the whole movie takes place in a library. 5 students in detention, all representing different factions within the school, are forced to come together over the course of their detention. They all have common enemies. You have the authority figures, also known as dipshits, who see them just how they want to see them. You have the parents who don't give a monkey's fart about them, or they care, but in completely the wrong way. Then you have the other students, who see each of them the way they think they should, and they treat them accordingly. This combined with their shared circumstances, slowly but surely binds them together. At first, you don't particularly like any of them. They all play the roles they have been given, and constantly rub each other up the wrong way. But as the movie develops, they not only begin to tolerate each other, they actually grow to like, and dare I say, respect each other. That is until they are all abducted by aliens. Again, I am kidding. The characters and the cast in this movie are great. Paul Gleason, who plays Principal Vernon, is a total asshole, but has some classic lines. And he plays the part like a legend. Molly Ringworm is perfect as the spoilt rich girl. Charlie Sheen's brother is good as the cocky jockey with little man syndrome.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Ali Sheedy is great as the crazy outcast. She is nuttier than squirrel shit. Sir Anthony Michael Revel Hall Jones, the First of Winchester, is spot on as the nerdy geek with a boner. As good as these performances are, Judd Half Nelson has to take the prize in this movie. He does a cracking job as the rebellious badass. He acts like the tough guy, but underneath all of it, is a smart, self-aware guy who is just trying to hide his suffering. He plays the part so well, and is the most interesting of the 5. To be fair, they are all extremely interesting characters, which is part of the movie's draw. But Judd Full Nelson is the one I would have liked to have known more about. Hats off to screenwriter John Hughes for this movie. He made some absolute classics in his time, but this one is right up there. The writing is brilliant. There are so many quotable lines.
Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
I could honestly devote a whole video to the quotes from this movie. As I have already said, the idea and the story is so simple, But the way it is carried off is brilliant, and the writing is a huge part of that. I think he hit the nail on the head with this movie. Sure, there are some outdated jokes, and a few cheesy moments. But on the whole, I think it's a classic. A lot of writers today could, and should, take a leaf out of his book. John Husel just flat out knew how to write teenagers, and portray them in the correct way. This movie handles typical teen issues very well indeed. Things like peer pressure, fitting in and forging your own identity. Unlike in many similar films, you don't get the sense that this was written by some out-of-touch old fart, who is just trying to have a stab at how teenagers feel. They are portrayed as having real emotion and actually have some depth. John Husey did nearly drop a bollock though when it came to this movie's title. Apparently, some of the names that were put forward and considered were, The Library Revolution, The Lunch Bunch, Golf Clubs for Breakfast, Trim the Bacon and Hold the Fat, and Detention Dickhead Smile for the Camera.
What did you say?
Okay, I made those last three up. But I mean seriously, can you imagine this movie being called The Lunch Bunch? To sum up, The Breakfast Club is a smart, funny, well-written movie that ticks all the boxes. It is, and quite rightly so, considered one of the best teen films of the 80s. If you really want to understand this film, think back to your own high school days. Think about your last year there. Reacquaint yourself with who you were then. When you seemed to feel things more deeply. Think back to the struggles that you went through as a teenager and how you thought no one truly understood you. Some people will say it's a bunch of teen brats, moaning, whining and complaining about first world problems. If that's your take on it, then you really did miss the point. You have also either completely forgotten what it was like to be a teenager, or if you are a teenager right now, you can't see the bigger picture. Anyway, if you haven't seen this yet then,
you should be ashamed of yourself!
Please check this movie out, and if like some, you don't enjoy it, then please let me know why. I am genuinely interested. Okay, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, then please like, comment and subscribe. I will see you in the next one, and remember, stay safe out there.
Eat my shorts.